Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about some sticky NSA situations. So this is just an overview of some, because it would be impossible. We'd be here. It would have to be a 5-day conference to talk about all of them. And even then we couldn't get to everything, but some of the NSA dilemmas that you're going to run into. So let's get right into it. So this is one that when we asked our notaries what some of their sticky situations are, a lot of newer notaries talked about same-day rush signings. And I think that before you get started as a notary, you think, oh, I'm going to have my week booked in advance. And sometimes it's like that. And it's like really rare and really cool when your week is all set in advance and you have signings planned all the way through. But often, much of your work's going to be same-day rush signings if you're planning on making your living as an NSA. Some people do it like a side hustle. Talked to a few brokers this week that are notaries that do it on the side. So their availability is a little bit more limited, but many NSAs want to do this full time, or that's their plan, and some of them are doing it. And if that's the case, you really have to be flexible, right? Your job is to start the day and be ready for signings. So a lot of it's going to be same day. So you really want to learn how to navigate and what to do, what not to do. You want to only take what you know you can handle. When I was a full-time NSA and I got real confident, which will happen once you get pretty good at it and you are loving making the money, and I would take as much as I could. I also learned from Lisa, who is a host, so she's going to just chime in whenever it strikes her to do so. But I learned from Lisa, so I took as much as I could. And to sometimes my detriment, I took too much. So you want to be realistic. You want to be brave too. If you're really wanting to make money, you need to be flexible, but only take what you know you can handle. So if you know that your max is 3 signings a day, don't push it. Maybe only on month ends when you know, hey, that's going to be a long day. But really be conservative in what you take, especially when you first start out. And when you get those offers for those same-day rush signings, you want to communicate your realistic availability with contracting company and the signers. So if you get a signing that's ASAP, you might want to, before you even accept it, say, for me, ASAP is in 2 hours. I can do it in 2 hours. Or list the times. I can do it at 2, 4, 6, whatever it is. Whatever your availability is. But you want to give that to your signers and the company that's hiring you. First, the company that's hiring you, right? Because what if it's a rush, but signers have a super small window of time and it has to be really ASAP, print and go, right? Print and go. So you want to communicate that. So and something that you'll find throughout all of these sites is communication is really the key to all sticky situations. But that's really important to accepting those rush same-day signings. And of course, like I mentioned, you want to be aware of overbooking yourself, thinking you can squeeze it in, or assuming you know how the signing's going to go. So thinking, okay, if I can get out of there in 20 minutes, then I can print and be at the other signing within the hour. You really, as you know, if you've done any signings, and if you haven't, you're going to see every signing is different. I've been on jobs. There's one lender we do a lot of work with, but the set of docs is super small. And 98% of the time I'm in and out within 20 minutes. But there's going to be those few times that it's going to take you 2 hours and you're kind of like, oh, shoot, glad I didn't overbook myself, right? I left maybe 2 hours between signings. That way gives your signer some time and some time to either print or go to your next location. So you want to be aware of overbooking. Don't get too greedy, not to say that you kind of need to be getting those signings and going, but don't overbook yourself. It's better to say no to a job than to accept it and then have a big issue later on, right? With same day rush closings, having multiple printing options is very helpful, and it allows you to take those same day or rush signings. So if you have an office, Do you have your personal printer there that you can print at home? Most of us have home offices, right? I have two printers, right? One to my left, one to my right. One is kind of my big one that includes the scanner and it's dual tray. The other one's a smaller one. But if the big one's not working, or if I need to print two different sets at the same time, I can do that. It's really worth investing in. And that's something I've heard people say, well, I can't afford to buy two. It would be better to invest in it. You're going to make your money back relatively quickly. So that's just my little suggestion. Some notaries can print on the go. Just this week, we noticed that a notary hadn't downloaded docs and it was signing time. So we called her kind of frantic, like, hey, are you doing the job? She says, oh, I'm printing right now from my car, because she has a car that has the hookup and can print. That's a little scary to me. I have never done that, but notaries are doing that. It's smart if you can figure out how to do it right. Now, with same day rush closings, there's the risk you're going to run late, right? Because a lot of times with same days, docs aren't ready. We're really waiting on those docs. You have to be on call almost. Okay, borrower wants to sign ASAP, but we don't have docs yet. So you kind of have to be waiting around, or at least have the ability to check and get to a printer quickly. It's going to mean sometimes that you're running late. When it's a rush same day, you can know that running late might happen because of that rush, so communicate. That's all you have to do. Give everyone an accurate ETA as best as you can do. And this is something we talk about all the time, is being realistic with our signers and the contracting companies. The running late isn't so much the problem as like the expectation being postponed, right? If you say you're going to be there in 15 and show up an hour late, everyone's going to be mad. But if you're just straight up and say, hey, I'm going to be an hour late, people aren't going to be so mad, right? It's that communication. And with same day rushes, it's going to happen. So communicate is everything. That's everything. And with everybody, that's another thing. Sometimes you're just like, okay, I got to just tell the signer who hired you. They need to know too, because oftentimes the signer is communicating with their lender or the escrow company, and someone's going to feel out of the loop if you don't cover all your bases, right? So the person that hired you, let them know, and the signer. Those are your two real obligations as a notary signing agent, to keep those people in the loop. Now, this is one we talk about, I feel like, every class, because it's a big problem, and it's a big problem around this time of year too, probably with the holidays. You really want to only ask to be reassigned if it's absolutely necessary, and with as much notice as possible. So especially with same day, if you accept a same day, follow through with it as much as you possibly can. If you have to be reassigned, give as much notice as possible. And why do I say this? I'm thinking of a certain situation that happens where it's the same day, it's a rush. You might have had a signing, and then you're going to go home, print, and get this rush done. That's the schedule that you're looking at. And then you decide, after or during that signing, I can't handle that signing anymore. Can you save the signing? Can you call the borrowers and say, hey, this is my ETA because of it being a rush. I need to still print. Can we push it back a little bit? Most of the time, the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is, I really need you to be here at this time. But I'd say the majority is borrowers are flexible, right? Borrowers are, especially if it's the same day and it's a rush, we have to get this loan done today. Most of the times the borrowers will know, I have to be flexible because I need to get these docs done today. Is it month end? Well, hopefully loan officers let our signers know, hey, we don't know when the docs are going to be ready, but you've got to accommodate the notary no matter what. So my suggestion is, instead of just automatically reassign it, can you save it? Can you move things around to accommodate the signing and still do it? I don't want you to lose out on a signing. It just might mean a little bit more work, right? A little bit more scheduling. And those calls are not necessarily fun to make, right? We don't like to tell someone, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work. But if you do it in the right way, customer service, which we're going to talk about, is kind of also a big sticky situation solution, is good customer service. You can save the signing and you can still keep it yourself, right? Still make that money, which is, like we said, I don't know, 25 to 50% of your work's going to be same day signings. So you want to find a way to navigate them. So these are some tips, options. Lisa, anything to add on this?
No.
No. When you were first starting out, how many of your signings were same day?
I've never had anything other than same days. In fact, we talked to a potential new client just this week, and she says, well, you know, how much lead time do you have? Because we tell our lenders 3 days, and that was shocking to me. I love it, by the way, and I'm sure all you will as well if this client does onboard, but 3 days, wow, that's wonderful, because usually it's same day and always an emergency.
Yeah. Yeah. So get ready for the same days. I do feel like now, so when I was doing signings, it was the same way. I might have 1 or 2 that week at the beginning of my career, but for the most part, it was like, hey, mom, what do we have? You know, I'll do it wherever I need to go. Way more spoiled now. We have notaries who are like, oh, my week's already booked. And I'm kind of mad at them a little bit, like, oh, you don't even know what it's like. Same days are good for you when you start out too, because you really learn the industry and learn it quickly.
And another thing too, I was thinking about is that we understand how frustrating it is to have a same day and then the docs aren't ready. We had a notary that was going to be doing a part 2 signing. And so that meant that the part 1 was shipping the docs directly to part 2 notary. And he got very upset because FedEx wasn't delivering them. And that's out of all of our control. Like, we can't make FedEx deliver them. Then he got very upset and said, I'm not doing the signing any longer. Docs were delivered to his front porch. His mother brought them into there, and then he almost refused to let them go. Like, he was so angry about this. And that caused a big stress for everybody, because it's not our fault. Is it FedEx's fault? Well, who cares? I don't own FedEx. So they don't care. So you just say that you give yourself lots of time, and remember, it's usually not the contracting company's fault.
Yeah. And that one actually got even better after you stepped out of it, Lisa. The borrower then had the notary go to his house, and he knew she wasn't there, and he left with the docs, or wow. He played with some games. Finally, the 2 notaries got together, and they both were really pissed at each other. The whole thing was crazy. But yeah, when it comes to same days, if you're someone who's not flexible, this job is going to be hard for you. When I started out, I was younger and I was nervous, and I was like, how am I ever going to be just loose, okay, go with the flow. Let's do it. What's on the agenda today? I'll take it on. I was worried about it, but this job really helped me to be that way. So if you need that quality to be kind of like, all right, let's jump, let's go. This job can do it for you. It can teach you to be that way. But you have to go with the flow, no blame game. Let's just get it done. That's the attitude.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Next one, printing issues. This is Eli, who's like a genius. He can do anything. Eli can fix anything and do anything. We just recently had a printing issue. I was like I actually freaked out. I was like so stressed out. Printing can be really frustrating and, a lot of pressure. I like this picture because don't we all want to kill our printers sometimes?
It's a great picture.
I know, it's so cute. I wish I had a printer that big. I feel like the problems would be a lot less than our normal printers, but those also cost thousands of dollars. Anyways, the best advice is to get to know your printer. And sometimes that's by having issues. Like we were talking about the printer issue that we had, Eli had to, through trial and error, reset the modem? I don't know. Reset something. He had to reset something. It finally worked. It was a really happy day, but it's super frustrating. When you get anything, and this is something I need to follow my own advice, but read the owner's manual. It'll teach you how to use it. So slow it down, read it. What I do is watch YouTube videos on YouTube. I've helped notaries across the country fix their printers by just watching YouTube. So I'll watch the video and then I'll tell them what to do. So you can do the same thing.
Another thing too is that First American in Santa Ana has a scanner they probably, and it probably looks a lot like this one, and they probably needed to have it serviced because the scanner is so hard on the documents that if you buy cheap toner, it will rub the words right off the page. Like only where the wheels are, and it'll just, and those strips will have 0 word on it. So making sure that your printer has not cheap toner.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of goes with the keeping a supply of paper, toner, and drum on hand. And we at Coast to Coast have gone through all the toners. We have done cheap toner, and with cheap toner, it's just really a gamble. Sometimes it's wonderful and it's perfect. Other times it is garbage where you can rub the words and they'll come off. Or yeah, the toner or the scanner will scan the words right off. So you want to keep a supply of good paper, toner, and drum on hand. And supply fees for supplies, that's a debate that notaries and signing companies will have, because notaries will say, oh, paper's so expensive. It's true. You can find deals. You need to look for those deals. Paper, you can find super cheap. You can get, 100 reams for a cheap price. And buying in bulk really is the way that you save money in that respect. Toner, you want to splurge for. But you can test out the cheap ones, but just always have a good one on hand, right? Buy one good one and then test out all these cheap ones and test them before you go to the signing, right? Does it rub off? Is it streaking? Does it look light? If it looks light, any of those things, get rid of them, shred the docs, use the good toner. Drums, you really only have to buy like once or twice a year. So you buy the expensive one, the genuine whatever printer drum. I suggest having multiple printing options, like we've already said, because when a printer issue is going to go wrong, it's going to feel like it's never going to be solved. And sometimes when it's, hey, we're going back to rush same days, right? If you have the ability to, okay, I can't figure this out now, but I've got my other little printer. It's a little slower, but it'll do the job. You just feel like, okay, when I come home, I'll work out that printer issue. I would suggest it. So you might be like me. I have a good printer. This was probably like $400. It's a Brother. It's a dual tray and it's a scanner, and it does great at everything. Had it for like 3 years. But then I have like $100 printer. So yeah, if you're thinking about cost, I'm telling you, it's better to put it on your credit card and then pay it back with your first 2 signings. And then you'll have it for X amount of years. So I think having multiple printing options. Also working as a team, right? Do you have a partner in your notary work? That, like my mom, I know she's got printers. My brother, I know he's got printers. Can I run over to his house, print them, and go? So these are just ways you can troubleshoot your printing stuff. I'd say also print the docs as soon as you get them, if at all possible. I'll tell you a story, and it's going to transition to the next few slides too. So this will be the start of it. We had a signing, and the notary he's a fabulous notary, one of the best in LA that we use all the time. But he was brave because he's been doing it 100 years, and he printed the documents like 30 minutes before the appointment. And there was an issue with the documents. They were cut off, not when he was printing, but the way they were scanned over to him. We'll go into what pursued after that. But when you print as soon as you can, you might catch things that need time to unwind, right? Like in this case, we had to go to the client. We'll talk about how that went in a minute. But printing the docs as soon as hand. If your printer has an issue, you're going to find out about it sooner. You might have time to fix it. Right. And all of this is in the hopes, I don't want you to lose a signing. That's really the goal. It's one of my most frustrating things when a notary says, oh, I can't do the signing, I'm having printer problems. If that is true, which sometimes it's not, let's be real. They're just like, I can't do it. I forgot, or I'm tired, or whatever. But if it's true, I'm frustrated, not because now we have to find another notary, even though that might contribute to it, but you're losing out on that signing. So planning ahead is important. Having a supply of paper, multiple printing options, a buddy who's also a notary that can help you in a jam. That way you're not losing out on money, right? On signings and money. When I have a printer, I just have learned from the Troubleshooting Pro, which is Lisa. I've never canceled a signing because of it. I've thought, okay, how do I do this? Okay, I can run to Office Max, I can buy a toner, I can come back, I can print, might have to move this and that around, but I'll communicate with everyone. So printing issues, don't give up on them.
And there's probably not a day that goes by that a notary is wanting to back out because it's just not, the docs aren't printing. We had one just the other day where the notary says, I don't know why they're not coming up from Snap Docs. And she was frustrated. I remember being frustrated as well. And so all I did is call her and said, here, let me just password protect them, and emailed them to her. And she was just like, oh, wow, great. And it worked out. So sometimes just letting us know that you're having a problem will help you any way we can.
Yeah. Yep. And that's another sticky situation solution, is communicating with the person that's hired you. Let us be your partner. Okay, this one is another one that is particularly sticky. Nobody likes this situation. What about an angry client? And we have a slide about an angry signer. So I'm talking about the person that's hiring you, or the people that hired the person that hired you, right? So if you're working with a signing company, that might mean them, loan officers, escrow agents, those people, the people on the back end that are giving us to the signing point. So you want to remember what kind of industry we're in. This is not the towel folding industry. I'm not downing that industry. That is my plan of getting out of this industry, is to go into that industry. It's just different, right? The pressure is different. So this industry, unlike that one, is super high pressure. It's deadline driven, and it's commission based for many people in the operation. Loan officers, escrow agents, many of them are paid based on commission. And you guys know that whenever it's a commission-based industry, people are super intense. And if they don't close a deal, it's like the end of the world. They take it very personally. And so there can be a tendency in this industry for some loan officers, escrow agents, just people in the industry, to be very frustrated when it comes to not closing a deal. And notaries are going to get blamed, sometimes very rightly. Notaries will do some wild things, and we deal with that every day, where we're like, wow, that was crazy, you know, and yeah, that can kill a deal. It can make it so it can't close. But not always it's the notary, right? Sometimes it's just the pressure that these individuals have. Their jobs are so intense, so hard, commission-based, so it's very competitive. So when you're dealing with an angry client, it's just important to not take it personally. And I'm really saying this for myself, because I take it oh so personally. I've gotten better over the years. When I'm on the phone, I don't take it personally, but then later on, I beat myself up over it, of course. But it really is important to remember that this is business. It's not personal. Even if someone makes it personal, which people do, right? They might call you out, and it's over the line. But remember, this is business, and understand the kind of industry this is, and so the kind of intensity that it can produce. So when a client is angry, a big thing is not to be defensive, even though you might want to be, right? Especially if they're maybe not being reasonable, or they're just so angry, they just want to vent. They don't really want to hear what happened. They just want to vent. But when you get that chance to talk, you can clarify your role, and you can explain what transpired, but really try not to get defensive. And it's obviously, we're imperfect people. It's very hard, but it's incredibly important to keeping that client long-term. Instead, you want to just listen to their frustration and then offer ways to help.
Yeah, that's I think is the key, is that no matter what your role is, from a standpoint of me, right, owner of the company, I get yelled at on a daily basis. And clients, sometimes notaries also, but mostly everyone is so under pressure that they just need to be heard. And so what my role is in the business, if someone's getting yelled at in my company, then I go and I smooth things over. And I do it sincerely, because I really want everyone to realize that we're partners, and you're also our partner. So I don't do it just to placate them. I do it because I want them to take a step back and realize that we're going to do all we can to fix whatever the issue is. And it is truly sincere. But it's not always easy. My problem is that I have a really easy time with stress. I can deal with it appropriately unless it's directed at my daughter, Virginia. When somebody is angry and yelling at her, then I kind of get to be a mama bear. So I have to calm down and like, okay, don't be messing with my kid. But I can't do that. I have to still continue to be, throw my composure. Well, the thing to remember too is that loan officers want things to close because they get paid in the month in which the loan closes. It's not like they'll lose the money completely. They'll get it the next month, right? But they don't want to hear that. They want the money and they want it now. And that's the way it is. So always just be somebody that has a solution. And if you need help with the solution, call us and we will give you the solution.
Yeah, so I want to talk about what I mentioned on my last slide, printer issue. We had a signing and this was a month ago now, maybe a little over a month, but the notary realized, oh, the client sent us the scans and they were cut off. So notary didn't do anything wrong. I called the client because she asked for a call. She wasn't understanding what I was emailing. So I was thinking this is going to go good because we're kind of saving up the signing, right? Because if the notary didn't do that, 2 days later, Linda would have said, why are my docs cut off? Right. So I was thinking, hey, this is going to be a good call. Well, I was so wrong. Client was so mad. And I was agreeing with her, like, I totally understand. And she didn't want to hear that even. She was like, let me finish. And I was like, oh, I'm thinking, oh, I'm on your side. I totally get it. I'm here to help you. Sometimes you just need to not say a word and listen, right? And listen, that's something I learned. And at a certain point, we couldn't come, she wasn't understanding what I was saying and I was out of options. And that's when you do need to bring someone in. And when you work with a signing company, you have us, right? Most of the time we're the ones dealing with the angry client, but you can absolutely ask us for advice, send us a text message, ask us for advice, send us an email. And in this case, I added Lisa on the call. Lisa was able to give a perspective and an option that I didn't think of because it is kind of a rare and basically we had to log on to our client site. So, that is a lot of trust involved there. They had to give us their passwords so we could log on. We ended up getting it fixed, but the conversation didn't go as planned. She was very, very angry. And it was one of those situations where I saw, and this is something that Lisa and I and Eli and some of us on the back end of Coast to Coast are Jehovah's Witnesses. We go door to door. And sometimes people are very mean, right? They don't want to talk to us or they're really busy. And when you're doing a volunteer work like that, you can't get mad. You have to be thinking empathetically, right? So I think about one door I went to, smiling, hey, I just want to share something positive. And the guy was like so pissed at me, like I'm interrupting a Saturday. And at first, my little feelings got involved, right? Because of course I'm a human being. And then I thought, what is he going through? And I almost in my head, I came up with a story of his life. And then I just had total empathy for him. I was like, I totally get it, And so you can still maintain your positivity by imagining what their life is, not taking it personally and, listening to them and then doing what you can. So when it comes to business, is the same principle applies. And sometimes that means apologizing. You don't need to grovel though. I think most clients don't want to hear you grovel. So just, how can I help? Sometimes it just means listening and that's it. But it's going to happen whether you like it or not. Clients are going to get angry. Let's talk about angry signers. I feel like as a notary, you're going to more deal with angry signers than angry clients, hopefully. And that's one of the perks of working with a signing company, right? Is that you don't have to deal with too many angry clients, although you will from time to time. But I like this picture because you have like two very frustrated people. And if you're a notary on the back end, you know that frustration ain't towards you if they're looking at those docs, right? But you're the one dealing with them. So same thing, remember what you're working with. So the loan process, if you've never got a loan, it is not an easy process. It can be lengthy, stressful. Borrowers are oftentimes at the point of signing, they're at the end of their rope. Why? Have they signed these docs before and it's a redraw? Has the appointment been rescheduled multiple times because docs never arrived? are the signers happy with the loan terms, or did they change, or are they not what they expected? Or did they have bad experiences in the past? Those are all things that might dictate what a person's attitude might be at the signing, right? And you might not have anything to do with any of those, but we're dealing with it. So, and like we mentioned, you might be the only person that they meet in person, right? So it's natural for someone to be, oh, this is a person, I can let my frustration out on them. And they also might not know your role. They might think you are the escrow company. We're not the escrow company, right? We're the notary. We're the signing agent. So I always like to, when I get an aggressive borrower that says, you didn't do this, explain who I am. Well, just so you know, I'm the notary. I have nothing to do with the docs that are drawn out, but I can help you sign them, and I can provide you general descriptions of them. If you need to talk to your loan officer or escrow agent, they're going to know those terms. We should talk to them, right? So clarifying your role can help kind of smooth that over. A borrower can be real aggressive towards you, and then they realize, oh, this isn't you that I'm mad at. And then all of a sudden that anger dissipates and we're happy again. So,
right. But
yeah,
there's another aspect to this as well. Sometimes in order to make someone, because my goal was always, when I was a signing agent, my goal was always to leave with everyone happy. If they were angry before, my goal was to get them to smile or laugh or, tell some funny thing. There's a couple of questions here. Remember, always, before I answer the questions, don't try to push it off on, yeah, the lender really screwed up, because the first thing that borrowers are going to say is, even the signing agent told me that you guys screwed up. We hear about it. So just try to say, I'm so sorry this, turned out the way it did, but we're here now. Let's see if we can get it done. First question by Peggy Sue Johnson is, how do you handle redraws when they're livid? And how do you answer that question? Well, there's a lot of reasons for redraws, as we know. Sometimes the redraws are a notary error, like we're doing one right now because this particular credit union wants the trust certificate or the trust signature to be actually Lisa Bittner, individual and trustee, and that's how they want it, which is not real common in it. So we're redoing it and the borrower is not happy at all. All we can say is that, we're sorry their experience hasn't been good, but you're here to make it right, and just listen. Lee, this is going to not be so good. What you wrote was food for thought. This business is a two-way street. The NSA Times is valuable, accepted assignment recently, scheduled the appointment, arrived, agreed on the time, greeted the client who canceled the previous night. My fee was cut to 40, won't be doing business with this company again. Well, that could actually be our company, because that's what we pay for a no sign. And that's because that's just industry standard. So if you say you're not going to do it, now there may be extenuating circumstances, like you drove, really far away. And of course, that would be something to negotiate with the contracting company. But industry standard is that the fee does reduce to 40 because it's not a full signing. So don't cut yourself short. If you know what I mean. You don't, because that's just what a lot of companies pay. They don't pay a full fee. Our clients don't pay us for a full fee, and sometimes don't pay us at all for a signing that doesn't get completed. So, don't, if you get too hard of a line, you may not have many companies to work for, because that is, at least for signing companies, that is an industry standard.
Yeah. And also, and that's where it's like understanding the back end. Just like Lisa said, if the borrower cancels, and sometimes the borrower cancel and nobody tells anybody, right? So we get to the signing, borrower's like, oh, I'm not signing. Our clients aren't going to pay that. So and almost no clients are going to. It's going to be very rare. If it comes back, they might pay a partial fee to us, which means we have to pay a partial fee to you. So that is just the way it is. And it is a two-way street. And there are times when You can voice these things, but like Lisa said, you also don't want to make it so you don't have any, you're just frustrated at the industry. This is just the industry standards. It's the way this industry works, so it's one of those things. You take it, and sometimes it's a success, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, and one of the questions that lenders will or escrow will even ask when we are presenting, to try to onboard a customer is, do you charge if the file never funds? And we say no, we don't charge, but we do pay the signing agent. So that's money that we lose because it's not fair for you to go to a signing, complete a signing, and then the borrower cancels. It's not fair for me to come back to you and say, sorry, they canceled, and not pay you. So there is a lot of loss on our side in this business. I can tell you for sure, the one that we're fixing today, the escrow agent is a bit on the harsh side. And she says, you guys are not getting paid a penny because the notary didn't follow the trustee verbiage. I mean, like, we are having it re-signed and we will make $0 on it. I mean, it actually cost us money.
We'll lose money. Yeah, we'll lose money. Yeah. Yeah. So it's important to just you have to understand how this industry works. And that's a big part of it. Yeah. The partial fees. Yeah. It's not your fault, but it is the situation. And escrow is not going to pay the full fee for something that isn't happening. And yeah, it's not your fault, but you're going to get a partial fee because there's just no room in the budget. At least there's no room for us, right? And that's another thing to understand being a notary is we are the low guy on the totem pole. We've had escrow agents say that, right? Loan officers make thousands, escrow agents make hundreds, notaries, if they're lucky, make tens, maybe 100. Right? Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. So knowing where you fit into now, I don't want that to discourage you because there are, you're going to make money, you're making money, and it's a relatively low accountability job, right? You take a job and then after that, you probably never see that signer again. So it's, even if it's frustrating, it's short-lived, that frustration. So there's definitely perks to it, but those are some challenges. When a signer is angry, you want to show empathy and remember the golden rule, right? You want to treat people the way you want to be treated. Really putting yourself in their shoes is going to help you deal with them appropriately. You can turn frustrated signers into happy ones by the way that you treat them and not taking things personally and putting yourself, pretend you are them. How would you feel? Of course, you'd want someone to listen to you. You'd want to be heard. What if they're mad at you because you did something wrong, right? They're actually specifically mad at you, which is more rare, right? Most of the time they're just mad in general. The best thing is to take accountability, apologize, and do what you can to fix it, whatever that is. Sometimes there is no solution. They're mad because you're late and you say, I am so sorry. This is the situation, but I'm here now. Let's do this thing,
I want to say something.
Yeah.
Randy Vintner just made a note that he says he hates the term industry standard. There's no such thing. There may be an average that companies pay. Many companies pay almost full fee. It's not the notary's fault. The signing company did not negotiate right to start with. Okay, so I appreciate the question or the statement, I guess I should say. The fact is there is an industry standard in most businesses. And there are also escrow companies, direct or lenders directly, that will pay a full fee for every single trip you make to one borrower. That is true. But I've done this business for 21 years, and I've been a signing agent working for Select Signings way in the back, 24/7, the national, there's so many companies I work for, and they all work about the same. Boutique escrow companies will pay more than the big people will. To say that the signing company did not negotiate right to start with, okay. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say to that because I've been doing this business a long time. Could I be hardline and ask for more money? Absolutely. Would I get as much work as we do, 400 to 500, 600 signings a day? Probably not. I respect what you're saying, but I don't believe that it's completely the fault of the signing company. And you certainly, if you find a signing company like ours that pays a partial for a no sign, you don't have to work with us, because if it doesn't fit with your business model, I respect that, truly respect that.
Yeah. When you work with Coast to Coast on SnapDocs, there's gives you kind of our terms of service. And when it comes to no signs where signings are not complete, we do say our standard fee is 40. And we are the kind of company that lets our clients dictate our fees. That's how we're busy. That's how we keep busy. So our clients, some clients, we have one client that will pay us for no signs and they'll pay the full fee. Fabulous. And of course, we're happy about that. And we're going to give that to our notaries. But that's how we have gotten busy. And that's what a lot of bigger escrow companies require, or else they'll move on. So just great comment though. That's the thing I love about Randy. He's going to tell you how he feels. And that's really important.
Well, he's also giving us he's telling everyone to go to someone named coachmelaura.com site. I'm not.
All right. Coach me, Laura. If you're here, you're with Coach Me Coast to Coast. But all right, let's move on. Let's talk about if you missed something at the closing. This can happen to everyone. Best notary in the world, gonna happen to you. Newest notary in the world, gonna happen to you. Prevention is the best, right? So quality control your documents twice before you leave the closing. I quality control them before I ship up to 4 times. But as you're signing, you're looking at them before you leave. You look at them. If you come home and you're doing your third quality control, or in your car, when an item is missed, communicate first with the contracting company and then to the signer. So, oh shoot, I missed the initials on the loan application. We might tell you, hey, they don't need originals of that. So initial it or get it initialed and scan it, but ship everything else. So communication with the contracting company is really critical, because we might be able to help you, especially if cutoff time is coming close, right? So if it's 3 p.m. and cutoff time is 4 in your area, and escrow really needs those docs tomorrow, which they always do, communicate with us. We might tell you, okay, that's a non-recordable document. That's not critical. Let's ship everything else off, keep that form, get it signed, scan it back. Something that you can do. So that's when something's missed, most importantly is communication, right? Just a big note in general, you don't want to pass the buck. You don't want to put the responsibility on someone else for your error. There are times when you can't, right? What if you leave the country? That's not happening. But for the most part, fix your mistake. It's good, not just for good business, right? You're following through with the job, but it also, you'll probably never make that mistake again, or very rarely make that mistake. So I always suggest to fix it. The mistakes, the ones I've had to fix, are the best, because those are the ones that are drilled into my head. And now every signing that I do, I'm making sure that I don't make that same mistake. So fixing your mistake is good. It can be awkward, but you have, do it, and then it's not so bad. What if your docs are a mess? And this happened this week. New notary, first signing. She was scared. She's like, these docs are a mess. I know I messed up on this. She said, please just send another notary out to get it all signed. She signed 99% of the documents. There was just a few things that were missed. So instead of saying, never mind, let's just shred the docs, let's start over, call us. And that's where it's like, we're your partners. We're going to help you. We might also know what is or isn't priority. So she thought she messed up the whole signing, when really, oh, that's an easy fix. That's no big deal.
Yeah. When I called her, she just was so upset with herself. And I was worried, because I didn't want her to get discouraged with the industry itself, and kind of, told her the way we do, which is, I've made every mistake known to man, and, don't give up. And by the end of the conversation, she was just giddy and, felt better. And I said, just ship those docs, and anything we need to get fixed, we'll get fixed. And so that was really, I was glad to be able to help her in that way.
Yeah. And that's very true. It's going to happen. I've had that same situation. You want to give up, don't give up. Almost everything can be fixed. That's the kind of neat thing, although there's a lot of potential for errors with our work, but it's also, there's a lot of potential for fixes, right? It's paper and pen and people. We can get that done, right? This isn't rocket science. This isn't technology. This is like old fashioned. Let's get this done. And it's doable. So something's missed, communicate and get it done, get it fixed. Don't always fix your mistakes. It's really good for you, right? It's like when things hurt, you're doing something right. It'll lead to the potential for your growth. So that's our suggestion on that. And I am the first, like when I first started out, I never wanted to fix anything. And I would like cry about it and be like, do I have to? And then I do it. And it's just good for you. Now, now I'm like, I'm the first person to admit my mistake and to fix it. And it doesn't hurt anymore. It feels good because you know that you're really doing a good job and you're being thorough. Even if you make a mistake, you're going to fix it. So that's our suggestion on that. All right, we're getting down. This has turned out longer than I expected, but let's see what else we have. This one's a big one, and it's big because it happens just all the time. And I'd say the error and issue for this past month in was missing scan backs or not dropping docs on time. It's just important, and this is like what the point of all our classes are, right? To understand the significance of your role as an NSA. You do a really important job in that dropping docs, scanning docs, that can mean the funding of the loan goes on time. So when you remember how important these tasks are, it's going to influence how you work. And honest communication really is everything. Never go MIA. It's better to give us bad news than to give us no news. We had a real nightmare of a signing. It was just one that would never die, just would never go away. And the notary initially didn't do anything wrong, but she didn't communicate with us. And she didn't communicate with us from Tuesday to Monday of this past week. So almost a full week. And what ensued because of the lack of communication was just incredibly stressful. That's normal for month end, but I don't think that she was a newer notary. I don't think she understood the significance of that communication. So that's something to keep in mind. Try not to come up with bogus excuses. Now, only you might know that they're bogus, right? So I'm not going to call out anyone's excuse and go, well, is that right? Because life is weird and life happens and crazy things happen. But you know if they're bogus, right? So this is really like personal responsibility. It's better to just be honest. And when you're honest, then we can work with that, So limit the dramatic excuses. Every once in a while, something dramatic will happen. You'll get into a car accident and your car's totaled. And then it's like, well, this is the situation. But, just as a personal ethics thing, keep the family emergencies to a minimum, unless they are family emergencies. But we see family emergencies, I don't know, 50 times a day. And, in that generic, and there's actually someone out there that's telling you to say family emergency. And so you know how we feel about that. You don't want to be the boy who cries wolf, because a family emergency is going to come along and the company is going to say, oh, we can't use this notary anymore. So something to think about. That's all on you. I'm not going to judge you. And why am I bringing this up? Because I, at one point in my career, was the queen of bogus excuses. I'm just being real with you. And I've learned, don't do that, right? I started feeling guilty about it, so it's better to be honest. You'll have a cleaner conscience too. And like we've talked about, let the contracting company help you. Oh, shoot, I swapped the labels. What am I going to do? Let us guide you. If you've swapped the labels, which I'm bringing up because it's happened, I think 3 times this week. Notaries are busy, right? So they sent the wrong docs to the wrong person. Be as helpful as possible. So be an investigator, go back in time and think, okay, what did I do? Who did I ship these to? Provide as much information as possible. If you can help the companies, because a lot of times the escrow companies that receive them or lenders might do some of the work, but if you can help, it makes a huge difference. I did that this week, and one company said the company that wasn't ours. So notary had two signings, one with Coast to Coast, one with another company. And the other company's client was like, hey, I know you have nothing to do with this, but thank you so much for all your help in making this right. So if you do that, it's going to mean a lot to everyone. And when it comes to swapping labels or making a shipping mistake, be persistent and helpful. So don't let it go, take it seriously and help whoever needs your help. And everyone's going to be real happy. Lisa, anything to add on this one?
No, I agree with that. Communication, it's just the thing to do. Peggy is asking a question. What if the QC department just doesn't contact you with questions? I'm kind of curious about that. Maybe when we do the question and answer, she can,
raise your hand.
Yeah, raise her hand, because I'm kind of curious about that.
Okay. All right. Last slide with content here. Poaching or stealing someone else's client. New notaries will do this, or it'll be perceived and they won't even know they're doing it, right? Because they're just wanting to get new clients. So a rule to avoid this is to just remember who hired you, and just remember that person that hired you, that's the person you want to impress. That's the person you want to continue to get their business. And so their clients, you want to avoid trying to steal, or even potentially like be perceived as you're stealing. Because a lot of times it's not even intentional. You're just doing what everybody on YouTube's telling you to do. And the person that hired you might take that as something else. Most escrow agents are really loyal to their notaries or signing company. And they communicate with those people they're loyal to if another notary is trying to poach them. We've had that many times. Hey, your notary's coming in here asking for all my work. And we'll be like, oh, darn, even perceived poaching can get you blacklisted from that particular client, right? Because it's competition, right? It's competitive business. It's a difficult business to maintain your clients in. And so someone comes along and says, hey, I'm going to take your client, you wouldn't want that. And other companies and notaries don't either. So when you're working with a signing company, you want to make sure to build your partnership with them. So if you're working with a signing company, they might have, Jane Smith, who's the escrow company. You want to make sure signing company is happy, because they're the ones that have the partnership with Jane. And to try to get into contact with Jane to give you work directly is just kind of a no-no. If you want to make your own direct clients, find them on your own and make those connections, right? So that is totally cool, right? You see an escrow agency right down the street from you, go in there, right? Introduce yourself, make those connections, schedule meetings with clients, send emails out. Just don't do it with a company that hired you. Don't do it so blatantly. Now, practically what that's going to look like, and why I say a lot of times you're not even going to know it, that you're doing it, is if you write that escrow agent. So you're working with Coast to Coast and you write the escrow agent that you worked on those docs. Hey, think of me for those signings. If the signing company that hired you, they're going to think of that signing company, right? So it can be perceived as kind of like trying to steal someone's clients. So I had a notary who I was working with, and she called me frantic and said, a signing company says I'm never going to work with you again, or her again. And I said, why? What'd you do? What happened? And she said, well, I went into, when I hand delivered the docs, I went in there and I tried to make connection. I said, hey, I'm available for any signings in your area. But that escrow company or lender that she hand delivered those docs to, they're loyal to that signing company. I don't know whose signing company, or maybe it was just a single notary that has a little signing company. And that signing company, or that person that hired her, was super mad. And she's just like, I'm never going to work in this industry. We're going to make mistakes like that from time to time. You just don't know the etiquette. So this is going to try to help you. If a signing company hires you, that's the person you want to impress and make allies with. You don't want to get a bad reputation. It's going to, limit your success in some ways. But if you want to make direct clients, go into those escrow agencies on your own, make those connections. Lisa, anything to add?
No.
Nope. Yeah, there you go. All right, so that's it for our general sticky situations. I'm going to ask you what your sticky NSA situations are, and Lisa and I will provide you with whatever insight we have. For those that are watching this on YouTube, because we record all of our live classes, that Q&A is really only for those who attend the live class. So if you're a YouTube viewer and want to attend the live classes, just email us at training@c2csignings.com and we'll add you to our invite list. All of you here are on our live classes, so thank you for being here. Book deadline, as you know, if you attended our last class, me and Eli were pregnant, and that really put a wrench in my book schedule, but I'm taking some time off next week to finish everything off. So I should have where you buy the book and all that good stuff and all done by the end of December. That's what's going to happen. So I'm excited about that. And our next class will be Name That Error 3.0. This is our third Name That Error. This is where, if you're new to that, we show you an error and it's all you guys. So it's live, active participation. It's a lot of fun. Every Name That Error is my favorite class. So this is going to be the latest errors that we have, and we need your help naming them. So I hope you can make it. That's it for now.